Welcome to another episode of the State of the Bulldogs. Mike, we are back. We are back. Christmas is over. We are in 2025. We took a little break there. And we lost Grant and Jeb along the way. No, I'm just kidding. They'll be joining us at some point this month. But just Mike and I tonight to kick off the new year. Mike, how is 2025 treating you so far? I know Tennessee lost going into the new year, but basketball
You
team's
know
good.
what, Sam? It's basketball season.
That's right.
And the Bulldogs are 2-0. The Vols are still undefeated, last undefeated team in the whole country, sitting at number one.
It's
They're just
crazy.
whooping Coach Cal at Arkansas.
It's crazy. What did Santa bring this year?
Santa brought me an all-clad stainless steel pan.
Wow.
Just adulting at its finest.
Yes, no, I feel that. Santa brought a fancy vacuum cleaner that also uses water to clean the wood floor to our house.
Like a Roomba or
no, it's manual. It's manual. Well, I mean, as you push it, but I don't know. It's cool though.
But hey, at our age, that's what we get excited about.
Yeah, it's a new stage of life. As we were talking about before, Knox got a remote control Spider-Man car, so totally different vibe going on during Christmas for him.
But I'm sure you were more excited to see his reaction to that Spider-Man car than you were to get gifted back. You know, having kids,
it was so much more fun. Yes, no, 100%. I mean, Christmas after you're like 13 or 14 years old kind of sucks. Other than getting together with family, having good food and stuff. But for me, I was like, this is not that fun. But now with him, it's so much more fun because he gets pumped about basically anything. You give the kid a stick and he'd be like, oh yeah, but yeah, so we're back in 25. Conference play's already kicked off, which is crazy because it was like we were building up for it for a few months there, watching us either get throttled by Arizona, hang on against Michigan State, beat Little Sisters of the Poor West University. But conference play is here, and Mike, the SoCon a little lackluster. I know SoCon John had tweeted out a couple of weeks ago that the SoCon was 0-17 or 0-18 against Power 4 opponents for the first time, maybe ever, probably not ever, but in a while.
Yeah, it's been a little shaky. Kind of a lackluster non-conference slate this year. I mean, I know I had some teams that are down with new coaches and obviously people transferring out, but you would have thought between Furman, Samford, ETSU, Chat that somebody would have given somebody a run for their money or provided some excitement. But it's been a lackluster non-conference slate.
The closest we got that I saw was Samford versus Michigan State. Now we'll talk about UNCG in a little bit. They gave Indiana a decent run for their money, only losing by 11, if I recall correctly. But and then we start conference play, and you start looking at some of these metrics, and we're talking about several teams in the 300s. We're used to 2, but now we're up to 3, close to 4.
I don't think it goes that high.
Oh, yeah, it does. 330. Here we have. This is jumping way ahead, but we got 357 at Citadel, 330 at VMI, and Western at 336.
36. I think 364 is the.
Mike, that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know is the fact that we have 3 in the 300s is absurdly.
Yeah, bad. I mean, usually it's Citadel and VMI just kind of taking residence there, but the rest of the team should be somewhere in the mid-2s.
Yeah, no bueno. It's no bueno. But it's to Samford's gain. Let's be honest. There are few teams that on paper stack up with us or stack up as well with us. So I like the fact that it's ours conference to lose as of today, January 5th. That could change. Probably won't. But I like that. Who cares if it's more pressure, if the expectations are on us? The fact of the matter is that the league is not as talented across the board as last year, and it just poses less of a threat. Now, it still doesn't mean anything's guaranteed once you get to Asheville, unfortunately, but certainly increases your odds.
So are you calling it right now, Sam? Are you guaranteeing a Samford regular season conference championship?
Yeah, as of January 5th, I'm guaranteeing it. That could change on the 6th, but
Yeah, we'll get into it. Furman's loss this weekend really helped us out early in the season, but there's still a lot of basketball we've played. We've played two of the worst teams in the conference, so still a lot to be determined, obviously.
well, we have a few of the continued worst teams of the conference ahead, but I think you're right, Mike. That's what's skewing a little bit of my perspective is, we're coming in, it's Samford. It looks like a two-way race between Samford and Furman, and then Furman gets waxed by UNCG. So we don't know what to make of it. Could be an aberration. Probably isn't. We don't like Furman. Hoping it's not, but it muddied the water. And the only team that looks okay so far is Samford. Now we have our weak spots and we'll get into them, but first let's just touch on a few of the games. We haven't had an episode since the Arizona preview. We obviously were not going to have an emergency podcast that night because we got annihilated. But we have Arizona, Alabama, A&M, Western, and Citadel to talk about. We're not going to go super in depth there. But Mike, any kind of takeaways? We can toss Arizona out the window, but we're all a little worried after that Alabama A&M game.
I mean, Sam, it's pretty simple. Our offense is great and our defense sucks.
Yes, dude. Yes.
That's been the story. Luckily, the two SoCon teams we played so far had pretty awful teams, so our defense didn't really get exposed at all.
Right.
But against Arizona, granted, it's Arizona, preseason power, preseason top 25 team. They might even be ranked at this point in the season. I'm not sure, but they just worked us top to bottom from start to finish. We came in the second half and started to kind of make a push, playing classic Bucky ball, executing well in the full court press, hitting our threes, things like that. For maybe 5 minutes. It's been a couple weeks, so I forget. But it seemed like maybe we were going to make a run there and try to make that game competitive, and Arizona just pulled away with it. They were just bigger than us, way more physical on the glass. We could not rebound to save our lives. And they just exposed us on defense as well. So,
yes,
like you said, that game, don't need to get back into it. But I feel like that was just kind of something you don't want to worry about the result of that game because it's Arizona, but you hope that other teams, granted lesser caliber teams, don't see what happened against Arizona and think, okay, these guys, this is what they did beat them.
Yeah, ETSU is really maybe Wofford, the only team that comes to mind that can really body you down low like that. We were excited that their main big man, Big Mo or whatever they call him, was out, but they still had, I think, another 2 7-footers and a couple 6'11" guys, and Caleb Love was feeling it that night, and it just wasn't our matchup to win. Michigan State was by no means as athletic as that Arizona team. They were a better overall basketball team, just how they operated together. Arizona was, even against us, was still looked a little discombobulated, but they made shots and they dunked it and blah 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 blah. Right, you can get away with it against a team like us, but yeah,
we got out rebounded 42-23.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah, Mike, I was at the OU Alabama game this week or on Saturday, and it was a similar vibe where you have a small team versus a big team, and it didn't really matter that if the big team was fluid and a good cohesive team, didn't matter. If you're playing above the rim and the other team has to play away from the rim, the above the rim team's going to win the game more likely than not. And especially if it's an Arizona Samford discrepancy on size and athleticism, they will for sure win the game. So we can flush that one. It would have been awesome if we had pulled off the crazy upset. But what's wild, Mike, is I think the Michigan State game is looking more and more impressive because Michigan State is, I think they were 10th in the country this past poll. I don't know who they played this weekend, but
I think they played Ohio State and Quez Glover.
Oh,
which side note, Quez is getting some decent playing time. Just throw that out there.
Nice, good for him.
Michigan State is currently ranked 18th.
Yeah, 18th. Okay.
They just beat Ohio State, who's a pretty decent team.
So interesting to keep an eye on that one because that's so far been our best game. Alabama A&M, so it was a tight one, tighter than we wanted. And coming off the blowout to Arizona, something we talked about in the preview of that Arizona game was, hey, look at the travel, look at the schedule. If we get, destroyed, the Alabama A&M game could be closer than you'd like. And sure enough, it was. And then that just kind of builds into, oh, crap, we're kicking off conference play on a sour note. Can this team get it together? Fortunately for us, we start off with Western, Citadel. We have VMI this week, and our first real test is UNCG on Saturday. So a lot of runway was afforded us after kind of some unsettling stretch there. But it seems like we found our groove. But how much can you really say when you beat Western and Citadel this year,
Yeah, I mean, maybe last year's Western team with was it Justin Gray as head coach,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
this team is not looking very good. They're 4-9 heading into that game, or maybe 4-8 heading into the game, and just was a terrible team. They were a terrible basketball team. Did not handle the ball. They shot well the first start of the game, but otherwise,
yeah, they start off fine. Is it bad if I want every SoCon team to be like that?
no, because it's kind of boring. Like, I'm ready for some real competitive
dude.
SoCon basketball.
There were so many nail biters last year. There were
I know, and it's
many
so
nail
fun,
biters.
and it worked out fabulous. We made it to the tournament. Like, we lost to Furman, but we got our revenge. We had those tight games against Wofford and obviously ETSU late in the season.
Yeah, here's a crazy metric. So, offensive efficiency wise, so this is using the Evan Maya website. He put up, I think it started out as a completely free site. It exploded last March Madness, and he now has subscription or paywalls for anything super advanced. But he gives offensive and defensive efficiency ratings for each team. To give you just a clue, Samford is 8.4, which is the highest in the SoCon. Western for offense, negative 12.7. He even has a little like emoji beside Western Carolina saying this team has been kind of bad recently. So not good vibes for Catamount Nation this season. It's not going to get better.
Yeah, and I apologize. I skipped the Citadel game, but same result. Terrible basketball team.
Well, yeah. So Citadel's right there with them, negative 8.1 with the same emoji. This team has been kind of bad recently. And VMI is right there. It's the cluster. VMI, Citadel, Western, the three worst teams. Thank you, SoCon, for giving us our first three games as those three, because can you ask for a softer entrance into the conference slate? No.
I guess, but like it'd be nice to, span it out a little bit. Maybe give us 2 layups and then throw in a UNCG or maybe even a Furman at that point.
Well, hey, it's 3 layups and then a UNCG. So
yeah, but it's UNCG, Mercer, who's not terrible, ETSU, Chat.
No, Mercer
Wofford,
is not terrible.
Furman.
Right.
So,
yeah, Mercer should be quite a challenge because especially being on the road. But we'll see. We'll see. As we said earlier, the conference is not looking very intimidating. That can change as the time goes on, but yeah, not too much to read into the Western to the start of conference slate. The only other takeaway that I wrote down, Mike, is that Trey Fort has really solidified himself as the other go-to guy. Like, obviously you got Rylan. Down low, you got Brownell, but Trey Fort, the guy, shoots the 3, dunks the ball. That Western should be on ESPN. So that's fun, right? Like, and Holloway is settling in. He's getting there. Colin, that is. Josh has been having a nice run too. He's still, as far as turnovers go, still there. Still there.
yeah.
But everything else is showing pretty decent development. Again, we can't read too much into it because that UNCG game on Saturday could show a completely different squad. But the 3 things we know we're going to get: Brownell's going to be able to score, Trey Fort's going to be able to score, and Ryland's going to be able to dish. Outside of that, You hope Riley plays well. You hope Josh and Lucas can come together and play and give us some points and give us some production on offense. And then hopefully Larry plays well. So, okay, interesting. You bring up Larry. He actually makes it into. So I think one thing that made Evan Maya's site famous is he gives his best lineups based on some kind of efficiency ranking. I'm sure he uses a combination of stats, but Larry's actually he's in our 5-man best lineup in terms of efficiency. And this lineup has only played 30 total possessions. Are you ready for it?
I'm going to assume, can I just take a guess that Brownell's not in there?
He's not in there.
I'm going to say Brownell and then maybe the other starting 5. I don't know, because Isaiah West has been hurt, so Holloway's been starting for Isaiah West. But anyways,
it's a fun one. All right.
I think that, yeah.
So we got Rylan Jones, Trey Fort, Colin Holloway, and Josh Holloway, and Larry.
So essentially the starting 5 from the last couple of games, swap out Larry for Brownell.
Yep, exactly. And
purely defensive.
Exactly. Larry is our best defender from the advanced statistics perspective. In fact, most of our team kind of sucks. But he is the lone. So out of, I don't know what the highest scores are, but to give you an example, Ryland has an offensive score of 5.02. Larry's the only player on defense with a score higher than 1, and it's 1.11. Our lowest player is Julian Brown at negative 0.97, and everyone else is right in between. Ryland's
0.41 on defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is Brownell?
Brownell is 0.67. Colin Holloway's negative 0.69. So just goes to show Larry is the bright spot on defense, which doesn't surprise us, right? Like, there's just his style of play.
Is Isaiah West on there? And Josh Holloway? What are their
Josh Holloway is 0.42 defensively, 1.2 offensively. Isaiah West is negative on offense and defense. 0.83 negative offense, 0.96 negative on defense.
Well, I was just going to say, if you think about kind of the progression of the season and how the starting lineup has changed, obviously Brownell comes in and takes probably all in Spock's place because he's been so good offensively, but we probably give up a little bit defensively, both on the full court press and half court defense, and playing the 5 spot.
Especially the press, yeah.
But then you take Julian Brown out of the lineup and put Isaiah West in, who up to that point was averaging like 4 or 5 minutes a game. So it was kind of perplexing, but you realize Bucky's really probably trying to shore up that defense. And then you watch his last game, and it looked like he was playing offense-defense with Brownell and Larry the whole game. Like, any opportunity he had to get Larry in when we're on defense, he would pull Brownell out and put Larry in.
Which is not bad. I don't hate that. I don't know
how he's not just exhausted at the end of those games, having to keep track of all that. But,
dude, I know. I was thinking, okay, remember when we were coaching that 7th grade castaway team? The kids who didn't make the real team?
Yeah.
It was so mind draining to make sure everyone got in the same amount of minutes. I cannot imagine what it's like.
Every kid had to play 3 quarters, I think.
Yeah.
So if you want to make a sub halfway through a quarter, you've got to think about how many minutes they played. Yeah.
Yes, it was a nightmare. So I can't. That's like level negative 100 in terms of ease of difficulty. Bucky's operating at like level 1000 of difficulty. So literally cannot imagine how hard that is. But I like that. I mean, think about it.
Seems to work.
Who's the best? Heen is probably the best big man. Maybe Wofford's kid that we're going to play.
Maybe Filovich.
That's going to drive them nuts. I mean, totally different styles of play between Brownell and Larry.
It definitely exposes you some.
I guess.
When you get Larry on offense, because he can't pull out and shoot like Brownell can.
He can't shoot.
Honestly, Riley Allensbach is kind of that perfect middle ground where he does a little bit of both, but he probably does neither as good as the other guy. So
if he was a little bit faster, he wouldn't have to do that. but he's just not that fast. And that's, you play with your strengths. And actually, now that I say that, Mike, we're getting so ahead of ourselves. But now that I say that, Bucky might just roll with Riley in those two games especially when Filowich is on the floor, because on one hand, you could take advantage of Brownell's athleticism against him. On the other hand, you mitigate him with the size of Allensbach. And then on your third hand, you kind of just go all in on defense with Larry, and you make sure that you get the rebound. Because if you shut him down, you beat Wofford by 20, 15.
We might have to throw all three bodies at him just to stay out of foul trouble, because our team is prone to fouling. Riley Allensbach is prone to fouling.
And that dude is like a foul magnet.
Yeah.
Like he plays so slow that you can't help but foul him because you're just not used to playing in mud. But okay, we don't play Wofford for a while. Here's another fun little stat. Who do you think our best two-man lineup is? This would be, dude, think about it, you're in the gym. You're in the gym, it's 2-on-2. These two guys walk out on the floor, you're just like, wave the white flag. Wave it. Who is it? Take a guess. This is your trivia for the day.
I'm going to say Brownell and either Trey Fort or Rylan Jones.
You're 1 for 2. It's Brownell and Lucas.
Really?
How filthy would that be? Because you got to go a little heavier on defense. If you're gonna get the Brownell offense, you got to go a little heavier. And both guys are sizable. Yeah, that's Evan's top two-man lineup.
It's kind of fun when he does that.
I know, it's awesome. Cool. There's a reason this dude's site exploded. He has a lot of fun with it. Tempting to pay for the other features, but to give everybody another little tidbit. So Rylan, as we said, is the number one offensive player by a lot. So he has a 5.02 efficiency score. Trey Fort is second with a 3.3, and then Jaden Brownell 2.5 with Colin right there 2.4. So, if you had told me that Colin and Jaden would have the same offensive efficiency ranking, I would be surprised. Where it makes a little more sense than when you flip over to defense, as we said, Jaden's at 0.67, and then Colin's down at negative 0.69. So that kind of illustrates why we see a little bit streakier of play by Colin, just because the defense, he gets exposed defensively.
Because I feel like Brownell gets exposed defensively a lot, but that might just be.
Well, I mean, dude, 0.67 is nothing to write home about. It's not like this guy's locking anybody down. I mean, it is wild, Mike. The team breakdowns, just how bad we are defensively. To put it in perspective, we have about as bad a defense as Mercer and Western Carolina from a defense efficiency standpoint. We're all about in the same.
Which is, as we were talking about before, it's points per 100 possessions, right?
Yeah. So all the efficiency scores, all of them are based on points per 100 possessions above average. So if you're negative, that means you're giving up more points per 100 possessions than average. How much more? Citadel's at -9. So they're giving up much more points above average per 100. We're just kind of middling at negative 2.7. Wow. But it doesn't matter, Mike, when you're scoring 8.4, when you got an offensive score of 8.4. And that's the thing, right? Like, our defense sucks, but if we score, we win. It's as simple as that. It's as simple.
Any concern there?
Well, of course, you could go cold.
Yeah,
but that's what I like about. Go ahead.
I was going to say Trey Fort, Rylan Jones has gone cold shooting the three, but he doesn't go cold in terms of his ability to run the offense and his assist game. Trey Fort has not gone cold yet, and every time that guy shoots, I think it's going to go in. And what was that stat that Grant tweeted out this week? It was like he's top 10 in the country for high volume 3-point shooters with 45% 3-point percentage.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That's insane.
Yeah, and building off of that, so yes, the obvious threat is if your offense goes cold, it's not like you can just lean back on your defense because there's nothing to lean back on. But we have so many scorers. The odds of everyone going cold is so low. And then even then, if you just have to start grinding it out in the paint, a combination of Riley and Brownell, you're going to get points. Even if it's just watching Riley back the guy down for a little hook shot. I mean, you're going to get points somewhere, somehow. And a lot of that's driven by what you said. Ryland's still the point guard. So as long as he's orchestrating the offense, there's going to be someone who isn't cold, even if Trey gets cold and Josh gets cold. Someone will be available.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll be a negative Nancy for a second and just say that I don't think our post has been tested enough to know how, offensively, how they will hold up. Obviously, we don't have a Chor anymore, so
sure, they're not. But Mike, they're not going to get tested until the SoCon. There's no dominant big man. There's no one yet that we're like, oh man, we got to watch out for that guy. So we'll see. I'm not. You get exposed for not having a big man when you play a high major, not really in the SoCon, and I think that bodes well for us.
Unless you're playing against who was that guy for UNCG last year? Abdul.
Yeah, the 7-footer.
Yeah,
or 6'11", 280. Yeah, he was a factor.
Yeah.
There was another guy. As soon as I said that, there was another guy. Maybe Western had him. Was it ETSU Seymour?
Yeah, he's still there, right? And he's balling out this year.
He's the only one where you're like kind of afraid of his size and athleticism, because outside of that, I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head. Seymour's
Seymour is 5th in the league in scoring right now at 16.5 points per game, averaging 6.7 rebounds per game.
But okay, and maybe we're not, when we get to ETSU, maybe you approach it like Western last year or 2 years ago when they had Woolbright. You let Woolbright get his, and you just don't let anybody else beat you. Like Seymour ain't gonna put up 40.
Well, I was thinking more about we're talking about Samford on offense. If our shooters go cold, we've always kind of had somebody to bail us out down low, whether it's a Chor or Logan Dye or whoever else. I don't know that we really have that this year. At least somebody that can be consistent with it. So if our shooting goes cold, how do we find ways to score inside?
I think it's Riley. We talked about this a couple episodes ago, and Grant has a different perspective on it than I do. And I think I can get behind either side. But basically the takeaway was Riley is one of our most efficient scorers. And our offense, when it would get gunked up, a lot of times would rely on him to keep the scoring going until we could get ungunked. Grant took a more pessimistic view that Riley was gunking up the offense, which is debatable. Because it's not like Riley's ball hogging. There are some players on our team that can do that. Riley's not one of them. If Riley gets the ball, his first inclination is usually not to score. But if the opportunity presents itself, he tries to take it. And so I'm going to push back a little bit, Mike, to say that he would be the guy. And it's funny, all these little advanced stats indicate exactly that he is one of our most efficient scorers and players on offense. So,
well, he rarely
takes
a
argue
shot
with the numbers
outside of 2 feet from the basket. So that makes sense.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But you would hope his efficiency is a little bit higher considering the shots he takes, because he's so good at getting on the block, finding his position, getting an open look, but just got to finish a little bit better. That's just my personal opinion.
We got to remember he is still just a sophomore. And
you're right. The fact that he's second year here, he feels like a veteran. He showed so much promise last year. I think we probably would have hoped for a bigger sophomore jump. But he's still a young guy, still a sophomore.
Yeah, he needs to start eating some peanut butter sandwiches like every single hour of every single day. Because you're right, Mike. When he gets in good position, what usually prevents him from scoring is getting shoved off of the position he just gained as he's going to finish. And then it gets a little short, or he has to overemphasize and it goes a little long. But if he was like 20 pounds heavier, he ain't moving that dude.
I don't know. He's kind of a unit. He's pretty jacked for his size.
Well, he needs to put on weight.
Right.
I mean, think about Filowich. I mean, for how much crap I give Filowich, or however you say his name, you can't move him.
The dude's put on some LBs, and we don't care if it's fat or muscle. Is that what you're saying?
You don't care. Yeah, it's that Krispy Kreme over in Spartanburg that makes the extra big donuts. Filowich is like a rewards loyalty.
That's the whole reason he came to the States right there. We don't have Krispy Kreme in Australia.
We picked Wofford on the size of the donuts. I love it. All right, let's talk UNCG here. So, as we've said, this is the first real challenge of the season, conference wise. They're not bad. You're gonna hear their record here in a second, 9-6. Okay, not impressive, but just beat Bremen by 17. They beat Wofford. And a fun little stat here, they lead the conference in double-digit runs. So basically, any run of 10 points or more, they lead the conference in with 9. Samford has 6. So to give you some perspective, UNCG can get hot. And unlike Samford, they have a defense that they can lean back on. Best defense in the league by far. So far. I mean, that's the thing. We're only 2 games into this thing. But throughout the season, UNCG defense has played better than everyone else in the conference to this point. And that's valuable because that you think of an ETSU from last year. You know, their offense was spotty, but they had a really good defense, really athletic team. And it seems like for how much UNCG lost, they brought in, this is funny, they raided George Mason's roster. They brought in Malik Henry and Ronald, I guess it's Polite, who are both from George Mason. And those two guys are key contributors so far on the season, with Malik being their best defender. He's a 6'8" forward. And then Ronald kind of does it all. He dishes it. He shoots it. He plays defense, just kind of an all-around guard who's good. And then the guy kind of stealing the show for them, Kenyon Giles. He's their leading scorer, transfer from Radford. What I do like about him, Mike, so he can shoot the 3 very well, but he's only 5'9". I like that. We're going to be bigger. We're going to be stronger. We're going to be able to hopefully play physically along the perimeter to keep him from totally abusing us. Because if there's one thing this team has shown, if there's a score on the other side of the court, we usually let him get his, especially what's the common name of those two guys that dropped 40?
Jaden or Jaden?
Jakari.
Oh, Jakari, yeah. We played so many Jakaris this year, and they always ball out.
No Jakaris here, fortunately. But yeah, UNCG, good defense, streaky offense, can shoot the 3 well, and should pose somewhat of a threat. Given how well they've played so far to start the season or start the conference season.
And I don't think we mentioned Donovan Atwell, have we? He's a guy.
Yeah, no, he's
the returner who's just so good.
Mike, in the notes, I literally put Donovan Atwell still shoots the 3 well. He's still there. He still shoots. I don't like that because we talk about him every year. It's like, look, this guy could hit 25 points get 25 points on us, all from behind the arc. Fortunately, this is purely memory. I don't remember him abusing us like he's abused some of the other teams. But to be fair, UNCG has not gotten the best of us as far as I could remember these last 2 years, even when they had the Langley brothers. So,
yeah, considering how good they've been in the conference, I mean, they're always a contender.
Mm-hmm.
And is their coach Mike Jones? Is that his name? Very well respected coach in the league, and so I think we've handled ourselves against them very well, considering how good they've been. This is probably the worst year that they've had, probably in Bucky's era.
But this is a team with the pieces that looks like they could piece it together, like in ETSU last year, where They make a nice run in conference, set themselves up in the conference tournament. I mean, like I said, they only lost to Indiana on the road by 11. You know, they don't have a marquee non-conference win. They have a marquee non-conference embarrassment like Samford did last season. This team lost to North Florida, 89-77 back in December. So I don't know.
Is North Florida bad this year?
I don't. Are they Division One?
Well, that's where Chaz Lanier went. Who's Tennessee's guard that's so good this year.
Oh, really?
He's
Oh, they are Division One.
Yeah, I think they're
Okay.
like kind of
Never mind. That's not as embarrassing. Looks like they're in the ASUN.
Oh.
Dude, that's so funny. That's part of the challenge.
Again,
to my point, dude, bad for the brand. It is bad for the brand, bro. North Florida. That's a region, not a school.
Yeah.
Sheesh. But, you know, UNCG. So one other stat that I wrote down, or did not write down. So I said Malik Henry, he's the 6'8" forward. A very interesting thing is he is their most balanced player, offense to defense. Like he's kind of, I don't know if he's the heart of the team, but he's certainly the pacemaker, or kind of the guy that, or just the consistent player on offense and on defense. And I don't really like that. Because of what we were just talking about. If Bucky seems to be playing offense defense with Larry and Brownell, and UNCG's best player is their big man, not in terms of like scoring and talent and all that jazz, but like just most consistent go-to guy, that could expose us. That the risk of exposing us, as you were talking about, is a little more prevalent with UNCG.
Yeah,
because of that.
Yeah. I think, we've just listed off a number of players that are pretty solid players. Some of them transfers, some of them returning. They've got a veteran coach who's been at that program for a while now, and they've always been a staple in the SoCon.
And they want to beat Samford. We're like
they want to beat Samford.
Like private school.
And,
yeah, dude. Mike Jones probably hates Bucky.
I'm, and this is again the pessimist in me, but you've got a team full of transfers with a couple of staple returners and a coach that knows how to put a team together, and they just beat who everybody seemed to think a great Furman team, beat them pretty well.
Yep.
Typically it takes a little bit for these transfers to learn how to play together, especially in basketball. So it could be a team. I mean, statistically, they're looking like they're the third best team in the conference right now in terms of their ability to score. They don't turn the ball over that often. They've got the second best assist to turnover ratio in the league. They've got the third highest point difference in the league. They're shooting the ball from the three at almost 38%, which
very
is
good 3-point shooting.
Slightly behind Samford.
They're
doing everything really well.
This UNCG team, like I said, come conference tournament time, might be the darling of the tournament, like ETSU was last year. We'll see. On the flip side, Mike, it's a home game for us. Granted, school doesn't start back till Monday. The game's on Saturday. I don't know. I would go back as soon as I could.
I'm sure that most kids will be back at that point. I'm sure campus probably opens back up Friday or Saturday.
It's a 5 p.m. tip. That's good. Because like maybe you're rolling in at noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, drop your bags off, head to the calf, head to the game. Boom.
Head to the calf. First calf meal in 6 weeks.
Ugh, nasty.
Yeah.
So that's the one. That's the wild card. If the students show out, I think we win. I think the players love the energy because always coming out of the winter break, you're dying for an atmosphere. You got
no homework, nothing to stress about.
Yeah. So that bodes well. It's a home game. Kids will be there. The juices will be flowing with more than 1,000, 2,000 people in the stands. Should be a good one. But UNCG is good.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think Samford's going to win. But if we do get exposed playing offense, defense, it's really not going to be good. And if one of their guys like Donovan or Kenyon starts getting hot from three and we go a little bit cold, it cannot be good. But we have more talent. We should win the game. And if we win handily, I'm going to be feeling much better about our chances to run the table in conference play. But that's also predicated on what Furman's going to be doing. I'm going to pull up the conference schedule for this next week. But
so you were talking about Demetrius Davis, right?
No,
the big man.
No, I was talking about their 6'8" forward, not their leading rebounder and their true center. I did not talk about him.
They got a lot of international players on their team.
Really?
Demetrius Davis, 6'8", from the Netherlands. He's a senior.
From the Netherlands?
They got two guys from the Netherlands.
Interesting.
Spent the last 2 years at UTC. So I'm trying to figure out. Granted, I can't keep up with NCAA transfer rules anymore, but didn't SoCon have a rule that you can't play immediately?
Dude, I don't know, because we got a Western Carolina wide receiver transfer, but he's a grad transfer. So when I first saw that, I was like,
"Oh, grad transfer it doesn't matter."
Right. But when I first saw that, I was like, oh, well, maybe in this new era we don't have any rules. I didn't ever see anything if the SoCon repealed that rule. So I don't know.
Maybe he's a grad transfer, but that'd be pretty tough to graduate in 2 years.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyways, he's 6'8", big guy. Plays about 15 minutes a game. I don't think we'll struggle with him. Yeah. He's 6'8", 195. That is.
I like that. I like that.
That's like Larry.
Any other comments on UNCG?
No, but I'm excited about that game. I think it'll be pretty competitive. I think it'll be one of our hopefully more competitive games since. Well, we've had a lot of unnecessarily competitive games.
Yeah, I was about to say since Alabama A&M.
Yeah, like a Cornell game that it should be competitive and intense, and it ends up being.
It is remarkable how good the offense is and how bad the defense is, and that might be our demise this season. We'll see, but yeah, definitely excited for that game. Go ahead.
Well, Bucky's mentioned this too, but the defense, I think a lot of it's not personnel; it's just.
All right, that's some sunshine pumping right there.
And I never do that. I'm a pessimist.
I know. But that right there, it's not a personnel problem.
It's knowing where to be and when to be there, and knowing your assignment. And those are the kind of things that you have to fix throughout the season.
And see, I think that is a personnel problem because it's not a measurable problem. We have the size and the speed, but do we have the mental aptitude to play buckyball to its fullest? I don't think this team has that. And that's something we've talked a lot about this year.
I don't think you mean mental aptitude. I think you just mean.
Well, by mental aptitude, I mean, are we willing to do what it takes?
Yeah.
And mentally, are we capable of doing what it takes? And I'm not sure this team is.
Well, we
got a long way to go. We got a long way to go. But if a ball's on the floor, I can think of 3 guys who I know would dive on it. Years past, a whole lot more than that. All right. Moving on to football. So much football news. It's like it doesn't really stop, even for programs like Samford. So you feel for the assistants because it's one thing if you're a Tennessee assistant making $800K a year. It's a whole different story if you're a Samford or a Furman or a Wofford assistant not making $800K a year and still working 60, 70-hour weeks on a freaking off season. Ton of portal signees. But let's start, Mike, with the announcement that we have a second bye game. Baylor.
Shocker.
Right? I meant to look this up. I don't remember the last time we had 2.
Honestly,
Surely
I thought
it's
it was
not.
basketball when I first saw the announcement.
That would be so sick.
Which would be sick.
I would be there. I'm not going to the football game. We're going to go to the A&M game. I'm not going
we're going
to
to the A&M game. I don't know, how that comes about. It's great for the program to get that kind of money. But those players are going to be banged up.
Yeah, I don't like it. It goes back to so many different things we've talked about, whether that be what does Samford football want to be? Is Hatcher on the hot seat? Going on the Samford message boards, I think Cujo said it, but someone, I laughed and kind of agree. Somebody said, and I can't tell if they're being sarcastic, but somebody said, I think they're scheduling Baylor to help pay the buyout for Hatcher. Which, listen, if you boil it down, there's no real reason to be playing 2 pay or buy games. I like to say pay games because we're getting paid. 2 pay games.
Buyouts that much, do you?
It doesn't matter, Mike. It doesn't matter if it's that much. It's like, hey, here's an opportunity because we know that we're not going to be that good because it's Hatcher, and unless the second coming of Michael Hire shows up on campus, then we're not going to be good. So it's an opportunity to just pay as little as possible to restart. And whether that's $100,000, Samford's $100,000 is like Tennessee's $10 million. If you can get it, go get it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the buyout is, but you're right. It can't be that much. It's got to be under $1 million.
I would hope it's a lot less than that.
Oh, I don't think it's too much less than that. I think he signed a 3 or 4 year extension after the quarterfinal appearance, and we're now in year 2 of that extension.
Yeah.
Or year 3. Oh, we're in year 3 of that extension. So yeah, maybe it isn't that much.
Heading into year.
Yeah, Mike, maybe. Yeah, you're right. Maybe it isn't that much. But I can't think of another reason why. We're going to lose the game. We're not going to win. And so the FCS selection committee. Okay, I mean Baylor ended on a nice hot streak there. So the selection committee is going to see 2 losses. Usually everybody has one of these games.
Do they count and consider FBS games?
No, they don't count it against you. But what it does is it decreases our margin of error throughout the rest of the schedule. Because it doesn't. It's like we're not. Because like you'd rather just play an above average team who's like a fringe top 30, top 40 team, probably going to win. And if you do, then that helps your resume. But just playing a game where you're going to lose does nothing but help your bank account. So I don't know. I don't like it. It will be fun.
Think about $500,000 in NIL funds, though. That's essentially because it's usually around $500,000, right? The price for playing the game.
100 to 800Ks.
You get your 1 buy game to keep your program going. That second buy game, that's $500,000 that you can put back towards the program or redistribute to the basketball program. Either or.
So really, you mean basketball NIL?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, if we got to use our football team to be a moneymaker for the basketball team, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. So here we go. First guy, Caleb Perley, offensive lineman from Southeast Missouri State. He's a younger guy from Louisiana. He's over 300 pounds. Didn't really have any offers of note, but 300-pound Louisianian, I'm going to take a shot on, right? Calvin Jones, grad transfer from Western. He did have an offer from Kent State, I think. He's a decent wideout, returns kicks. He's not like crazy good, but should be able to be a solid contributor. And I do like that he's played in the SoCon. Marlon McClendon is a DB from Georgia State. He got 3 years of eligibility left. Out of high school, he was offered by Western Kentucky, Georgia Southern, James Madison, and Iowa State. So at least on paper, coming out of high school, he was a decent prospect. Georgia State's a good program, and the fact that he's still pretty young, maybe there's something to glean if he can develop at Samford. CJ Evans is a grad transfer running back from Tennessee State. Spent most of his career at Austin Peay. In his Twitter bio, in his like Twitter profile or X profile, he had a video where he listed out some like stats, and one of them was second team All American. I didn't find anything anywhere where he was second team All American. Maybe he was like second team preseason All American at Austin Peay or something, but he didn't even rush for 1,000 yards at Tennessee State. So he's definitely not. That was definitely not from this year.
Maybe a high school All American.
I don't. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Jaden Gibson. So we were joking about this one in the group chat. Basically, if you're a wide receiver, you have a home in Homewood. Jaden Gibson, wide receiver transfer from UVA. The kid was an absolute unit in high school. He has like state records out the wazoo. We'll see. You got to think, is he really that smart for giving up a UVA degree for a Samford degree? It's like, why? Like Jeff and I talk about that all the time. Why would anybody ever transfer from an Ivy or a UVA level school? It's like, just stick it out, you know?
For the love of the game, man. For the love of the game.
I guess he really wants to get on the field. But good for him. Good for him. He might be a fun guy to watch. I love that you love the guys that were just freaks in high school. Because
what year is this guy? He's not a grad transfer?
I can find that. I don't think he's not a grad transfer. Actually I can look that up as we were talking about it, but let's see. Jaden Gibson, it says he signed in 22 or 23. Yeah, he's going to be a junior this coming year. So definitely a few years left. Now this guy, dude, Naheel Perkins, DB from Fordham. He was an honorable mention for All-American, the real All-American. All Patriot League, 3-year starter at Fordham. He's unfortunately a grad transfer, so we only got him for 1 year. But this is a guy immediately can contribute. Excited to see what he can do. And then just yesterday or 2 days ago, Charlie Gillingham, quarterback from Wake, younger guy. Funny thing, we actually offered him out of high school back in 2022. So some kind of relationship already existed there with him. He looks like he could be a good quarterback. Who knows? He made the Wake Forest football team. Granted, their coach got fired. Well, he resigned. I think he officially resigned, but
he resigned.
They were terrible, absolutely terrible. He was offered by Fordham and Wofford. A few of these guys were actually offered by Wofford, and considering they want to run a similar offensive scheme, I think that's a good signal. We're not going to be like poaching recruits from, I don't know, Troy, but
you saw the Michael Pierce interception yesterday.
Yeah, did you see his press interview?
Well, you said he was too old to run it back, or didn't want to injure himself, or something.
He said something like that. But what I loved, he's like, "Yeah, I don't curse on TV." So he said, "They're like, what were you thinking?" And he was like, "Holy S word." I was like, "You could be on the pod."
Yeah, seriously. I had a friend from Samford that texted me another buddy and said, "How did Michael Pierce get so big on calf food?" That's like,
he wasn't okay. You look back at pictures of Samford, he wasn't that. He put it on in the NFL. Like I said, dude, Riley just needs to just eat peanut butter sandwiches nonstop, 24/7. Build the wall, baby. Build the wall.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, seeing the Michael Pierce highlights, like, look, you can stick it out at Samford and make it to the league. And especially for guys that have been there for 2-3 years, you're looking at some of these transfers like Marlon McClendon, who has 3 years of eligibility. Caleb Perley, the old lineman from Louisiana, who has a few years of eligibility. Jaden Gibson, who has a couple of years of eligibility. You don't if you're a Samford staff, it's like you don't want to pitch it as a one stop along the way. Hey, come here, get some playing time, get some good film, and then go on your way. It's like, no, you can legitimately sell these guys on like, hey, if you want to try to make to the league, this is not going to hold you back.
Yeah.
If anything, it's just going to provide you the opportunity to put good tape together, which is the most important thing to getting noticed. And then from there, it's really all the other things. How fast are you? How strong are you? How smart are you? But
yeah, it's almost unfortunate some of these guys that are really having to be a college football player at this point in time. Obviously, great for a lot of reasons. The transfer portal is great for so many guys.
Sure.
The fact that they can benefit financially from their name, image, and likeness, but we're still kind of in this
Well, I
wild
mean, these
west
guys
where,
aren't.
yeah, they're getting something,
Like, maybe. I mean, the guys leaving Samford for sure, like Jabari for
Yeah,
sure.
that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about like
yeah.
Jabbar Brooks and the guys that leave Samford for seemingly greener pastures. But there hasn't really been like a playbook around what's a smart move. You know what I mean? Just because
Well, yeah, like Brendan Jenkins going to South Alabama, not a good move. Like, not a good move. First off, you're going to get the less playing time. Similar level of exposure, let's be honest. If you're talking about just pure show me who's better, there's not a giant leap in skill positions from Conference USA, Sun Belt down to the SoCon. Like, there's a leap, and then there's basically everyone else. And it's a muddled mess. So you can differentiate yourself just fine at the SoCon.
Well, there's always, the fear that guys transfer because they think that the team they're on is a sinking ship. So I don't think we're quite there yet,
but if the Baylor game is to pay out his contract, we are.
Maybe they found out, the real reason behind it.
But at the same time, Mike, it's different at the FCS level. It's a little more old school in the sense of you go to Samford, yes, for the coaches, for the team, but also it's like, oh, it's close to my home. It's a decent school. It's a nice place to go to college, right? So if there is a wholesale coaching staff change, barring them kicking you off the team, which they can't afford to because you got to go find bodies. I'm not sure if it's much of a wholesale change as it would be if, Tennessee fired Heupel. Well, the entire team is in the portal the next day. I think it would be different. It could maybe not be.
Brendan Jenkins, his dad, I think, played in the NFL. He's definitely like a big body guy. Like,
well, there was also some connection to South Alabama, but I'm just like, there's no on field reason to go to South Alabama. Zero.
Unless he knows. Yeah, I gotcha.
But yeah, there is I think his dad either played with a coach down there or there was something. But yeah, I mean, seems like a pretty decent haul. I don't know. Some of these guys look a little bit like filler, like CJ Evans didn't produce that much at Tennessee State. Charlie Gillingham, he's another quarterback. We've had so many quote unquote promising young quarterbacks like that Utah guy, Mac Howard, who we were excited about and then never heard anything about. And who's to say what'll happen, right?
Is he still there?
I haven't heard that he's left. But a guy like Nahil Perkins, even a guy like Calvin Jones and a guy like Marlon McClendon, you get a little bit more excited. Jaden Gibson, TBD. We'll see. A lot of production in high school. Didn't do anything really at UVA. Mike, any other thoughts on football before we head on to the state of the SoCon?
Yeah, we never talked about the defensive coordinator change, right? So Braithwaite has left.
Unofficial.
Official that Braithwaite left because he went.
Well, yeah, that's official. That's
where
official.
did he go again?
Cincinnati.
Yeah,
corners coach,
cornerback coach.
Seems like Troy gets all of our guys.
Nah, something better than that, wasn't it?
No, dude, anyway. He went to be a position coach. Yeah, Cincinnati. Yeah, he's like the linebackers or corners coach. He's a
position coach in Cincinnati. Yeah. Anyway, Samford unofficially is planning per Samford Scoop, aka Grant, planning to promote current linebacker coach Brandon Cooper to defensive coordinator.
That's pretty high.
Coach for a few years. Linebacking.
It's always our best unit.
Yeah, they've been
always.
Studs. Of course, no Noah Martin, but
it's all right.
I'm sure you can find a replacement.
Yeah, that's pretty. I like that. That seems like a good fit.
He's got defense coordinator experience at UNC Charlotte for a few years. So.
He's a good recruiter, and he can develop the heck out of players. So I like that. We'll see if they make that official. It stinks not having Grant here because he's our actual insider. he could tell us a little bit more about that. But interesting. Cooper is it took a while. Braithwaite left a month ago.
Wasn't that long ago?
Yes. Something like that. Makes you wonder, especially when you go internally. Not that like I said, I like that pick. I like having Cooper as a D coordinator, just based on what he's put out on the field as far as the position group. But calling plays is a little bit different. Be interesting to see if we stick with Braithwaite's scheme, considering we just recruited this past cycle for that scheme. Added so many edge guys. We'll see. We'll see. I would like to know what Grant thinks. But State of the Soak on a little updated Ken Palm. Interesting. So, we kind of knocked Furman, but the Ken Palm loves Furman and kind of supports what we see as the rise of UNCG. So Samford's at 104, Furman's at 106, like neck and neck. UNCG, though, made a nice jump up to 126. ETSU sitting at 136, Wofford right on their tail at 138. Then you kind of have a drop to UTC at 178, and another little drop to Mercer at 227, and then the bottom three, Western, VMI, Citadel, all in the 300s. But yeah, Ken Palm liking UNCG's up and coming status, but they still like Furman, even though they just got drubbed. And I did look up
200 ranking points higher on our next matchup than our last two, but I think we can handle it.
That's a steep climb.
Big jump.
Yeah. Hopefully we can handle it. I did look up Furman's schedule, so they play Citadel next. Easy dub. But they have Wofford on the 11th, and then ETSU on the 15th. So it gets a little bit tougher for them. If they lose those two, it's like, well, okay, they were the paper tiger. Then it really is Samford's to lose if we handle our business against UNCG. We'll see. I think, surprisingly, I think we're going to be able to tell a lot early, just based on the fact that the conference is seemingly weaker. And so if some of these teams show that that's just the reality, especially when it comes to playing against each other, could be our conference to lose, baby.
Yeah, it almost seems, usually it seems like there's kind of a top four and a bottom four and like a middle two. It kind of seems like a top three this year, and then everybody else just trying to figure it out. UTC is an odd one. They're currently sitting at 178 in Ken Palm, but I think they definitely have potential to move up. They've had some injuries this season. Still have a couple star guards, and they're
they definitely have the potential to move up.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with UTC. They could.
I wouldn't be shocked if they could win the conference. We'll see though. They might be the epitome of potential. That doesn't ever. Mean it's
at what point are we going to stop talking about how great Dan? We'll say Lanning. It's definitely not Lanning because that's the Oregon's coach.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude! It's late. Dan Lanning. Anyway. But yes, I know what you mean. He was the hotshot coach coming from VMI.
Yeah. Dan Earl.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did they? No, they lost the buzzer beater game. Right? 3 or 4 years ago.
That wasn't Dan Earl though. That was the South.
That wasn't Dan Earl. Because that was when UTC had that dude.
The guy that transferred. Well, they had Jean Baptiste is the one that.
Yes, that's who I'm thinking of.
Hit the shot the first shot, yeah, and then the guy that transferred to Gonzaga, who ended up being like sixth man of the year in the WAC, or not the WAC, but whatever conference Gonzaga's in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was basically the run that got. Goodness, it is late. I cannot think, but the South Carolina coach got in this gig at South Carolina.
I was actually just talking about it yesterday. Dude, I'm not even gonna try.
See his face.
Yeah, I'm not gonna try. Yeah, so Dan Earl, overrated, maybe. Flash in the pan of VMI, maybe.
I mean, when you don't have Jake Stevens, job gets a little bit tougher.
When you don't have the cheat code. Yeah. All right, wrapping it up. State of the Bulldogs. Mike, you got it. Women's basketball.
Women's basketball still has not started SoCon play yet. They just,
which is weird, right?
It's a little weird, but there might not be as many teams in the women's.
I think same. I think it's the same teams.
They have 10 teams.
I can check.
But they just walloped Barry, which we were talking about before we recorded.
Yeah,
Barry had a basketball team. Might be D3, D4 if it exists. But we kick off conference play this week with Mercer.
8 teams, Mike. 8 teams.
8 teams. Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have a team?
VMI, Citadel. Yep.
Are those boys' school?
No. I don't think so. I know Citadel's not. I don't think VMI is. It should be, maybe. Maybe it should be.
Yeah.
But no, they're definitely co-ed. They're definitely co-ed. Because Citadel ran the table in women's basketball or women's volleyball.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
VMI, I'm sure they do something at some point. That sounds so bad. If you're still listening, I don't mean any offense to VMI. But
anyways, when does baseball start, Sam?
End of February, I think. Yeah, we still got a while to go. It's kind of when basketball starts winding down that baseball starts warming up.
Yeah, I just feel like it's always earlier than I expect.
Yeah, well, anyways, they got to cram the whole season in.
Samford's women's basketball team is sitting at 5-11 right now, so definitely a rocky start. Really they had that rough start to the season where they played Tennessee, Memphis, Florida State, Vanderbilt.
Just out there getting paid, baby.
So played some tough non-conference teams, and hopefully that helps them heading into SoCon play this week.
Yeah, we'll see. It was nice to see Claire got back in the lineup. I think she was out for a couple games. Yeah, poor Barry. Like I said, I didn't know Barry had sports, but apparently they do. All right, anything else, Mike? Any other comments? It's 2025. Grant and Jeb will be hopefully joining next episode, but State of the Bulldogs is out. Let's get the 2 dubs this week, VMI, UNCG, and then we'll be sitting pretty. Hopefully Furman drops those 2.
Pack the Pete Saturday night at 5 o'clock.
Pack the Pete, baby.
5 o'clock Central or Eastern? Look it up. I don't know.
Anyone can look it up. State of the Bulldogs is out. Hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful week.